In perfect keeping with how bleh the 1.60 update has been received overall, the motor swaps seem almost entirely designed, you could say, with that in mind as well. Not only are there only 5 instead of the usual, 7, 10, whatever, but also they're all for vehicles which already had motor swaps. So instead of adding fresh swaps for fresh vehicles, we're just doubling up on cars that already had motor swaps. And in some cases, these swaps are not necessarily any better than the motor swaps which we could already do to said cars. Because this time it's got a distinctly JDM kind of flair with stuff like 2JZ swaps and Nismo swaps. So first up we have the 2014 Lexus RCF. Not exactly a massively used car from what I've seen for many players, at least in road going form. Now the new addition being the 2JZ Toyota swap, something which I would argue would have made more sense to have in the first place rather than said Bugatti swap, but there you go. If you do want to keep it a bit more on brand, maybe have a more drift car sort of approach to it, then of course you could do so. In terms of the 2JZ swap also being an option, as well as, in this case, an S15 Sylvia swap, that one is added to the 1990 shape S13 Sylvia, and in particular, it's the Dia selection of the Sylvia Ks. Nice option, doesn't necessarily make quite as much sense as having an RB engine in there instead of a 2JZ, but there you go. Next up in the world of Sylvias though, we're jumping forward a generation to the S14 with a 1994 shape S14 Sylvia Ks Type S. This one has an interesting couple of swaps. You've got the C7 LT5 Corvette engine swap, which is a cool idea, that's very drift car-esque, and also the VR38 Nismo GTR engine swap as well, which is a bit more expected. Again, you could make more of an argument probably for a Skyline swap, but that's what we've got, so if you do want more power, you've got options galore. We're keeping it on brand with Nissan next though for car 4 out of 5 with the 1989 300ZX, with either the same VR38 Nismo option or the much more interesting, much more muscle car-esque LS7 Rampage. So if you are a fan of racing with the 300ZX, now you've got 2 seriously powerful engines to go for either way, or even if you leave the standard motor in there and tune it up, one thing is always for sure, and that is that a 300ZX is always going to be quick. And to totally change things up from the Nismo and Toyota slant, well, I guess not totally, because you've still got Toyota in there really, but it's the 2021 shape Subaru BRZS, a vehicle which I've done literally nothing to before. This one though has the option of, again, the 2JZ Super engine, but also the DKH 911 Turbo S engine. That one's pretty cool. Now I will say this is one of those occasions where I really would like to see a drivetrain swap on the BRZ. If you could make a 4-wheel drive version of it, well, there are so many builds and so many opportunities that would open up. You could make an awesome rally build with a standard engine or a motor swap. You could make it a ballistic missile in a straight line. Just in general, it would be a really cool kind of mini 911 almost approach, which again, to go back to the 911 Turbo swap, I mean, imagine how cool that would be. A literal Porsche Turbo S engine in a 4-wheel drive swapped Subaru BRZ. I think that sounds like a pretty cool idea. The problem, as always, is, of course, once you get into drivetrain swaps, that goes down the Forza route pretty quickly, but it's not like Gran Turismo is really avoiding that by having Chirons in Lexus models and various other ridiculous swaps like that. That's it, though, for the swaps this time around. I must admit, I'm probably not going to use most of these much, if at all, in the case of my personal garage, unless I specifically do a replica or something in special projects, maybe including one of them. I, to be honest, don't have any current plans to do that, but you never know down the line, maybe a drift car or something. So I would be curious to know, is there a particular replica that you're intending to do based on maybe some real world combination, like a Formula Drift kind of machine maybe? Are any of these cars now crazy speed demons that they weren't before? Of course, if you are interested in knowing what literally all of the other motor swaps are, this is a very expansive series at this point, as you can see from the episode number here. So all of the previous ones are linked in the description below, and of course I'll see you next time with more, and hopefully next time around maybe not only more of them, but some more interesting ones, fingers crossed, but we'll have to see then. And of course over the next 3 days I will be talking about each of the cars in 1.60, the Citroen, the Lancia, and of course the Peugeot in their own reviews. So I'll see you then, and thanks for watching.